go through the Salesforce presentation.
Well, I guess what I mean is separate from the demo. I'm talking about the Salesforce
right.
PowerPoint,
so,
who they are, what the app is, because I've got that.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to you.
More of a question to Leonard and team. Do they want to see that?
How would you like
Give
it
us an overview of what Salesforce can do. But, not totally detailed because all of us have some exposure.
Okay, do you want to do that first?
Yes.
Okay, so let me hand it over to Jason. I'm going to hand over the mic and the controls to Jason. You want to show that?
And this is recording, right?
Yeah, I just hit the record button, so I'm recording.
We're recording for someone that couldn't make it, or?
Yeah, there's a few people are interested in this, and they'd like to see the recording of it.
Gotcha. Okay, almost ready here. Yeah, I don't. Give this one more shot. Okay, I got it now. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. All right, so this is going to give you some background on Salesforce. A lot of information here. We can go as quickly through this as you want and kind of brush over different areas that make more sense. And but the focus, just to back up, is Salesforce is what they call the Sales Cloud. Salesforce has the Sales Cloud, which is primarily used by sales organizations, whether it's inside sales or field sales, to better manage the customer prospecting process and earning new customers and then managing those customers. So it's a typical sort of lead management to opportunity management to quotes and contracts and all of that. They also have an application called the Service Cloud, which is centered more around sort of call center, case management, knowledge base, customer portal, things like that. So I presume that this discussion should be centered more around the Sales Cloud because that's what we've been talking about.
And also, we're a not-for-profit, so there's a membership component too of what we do.
Okay, good point.
No, you have that capability as well.
Yeah, so a great point. Chime in, give me thoughts like that as we go, and I can validate, say yes, no, that kind of thing. A big part of Salesforce's current vision from the founder, Mark Benioff, down throughout the entire company is they're really identifying the opportunity in the marketplace for what they call the social enterprise. Everything's social nowadays, from your mobile devices to social networks to Twitter. Just there's a lot of conversations that are happening out there in real time, and so the idea is how do we engage those in an enterprise setting. And so it really starts with having a profile of your customer, your partners, your prospects, and having that be social in nature. And then there's all these components that surround that on the Salesforce platform, whether it's products and partners, being able to listen and analyze to those social feeds, doing marketing, automation, extending, doing customer service engagement, connecting and selling, and then collaboration is another key part of it. So you'll see that sort of those paradigms, those those thoughts incorporated. And so what we see with the Sales Cloud in particular is really focusing on connecting and selling, and that's being able to do that not just in the traditional sense, sort of inside sales, but more also out in the field. So being able to use your platform in a mobile environment, whether it's a touch interface like an iPad or something, or a cell phone, having access to all that key information no matter where you are seems to be extremely critical these days, and is supported by the Salesforce platform, out of box. Salesforce, their Sales Cloud, they've been around with this product for 10 years now, so they've come a long way. They're identified as the market leader by pretty much all of the analysts and publications out there, and they continue to innovate the platform and the Sales Cloud in particular. So you'll see 3 times a year, every 4 months, they come out with a new release and a whole bunch of new functionality, and they don't charge you anything extra for that, which is one of the greatest things that personally I like about them, is that they're very consistent with that, whereas most companies come out with a new release maybe once a year. So you'll see that these are this is like the spring release, the summer release, the winter release for this year alone, and hundreds of new features that are free. As far as statistics go, they've saturated the marketplace so well that they've been able to hire third-party, Market Tools Incorporated. These are independent parties that are completely objective, to go out and interview all their customers, or a good percentage of them. So they take a random slice of 4,500 customers, and they determine sort of before Salesforce what were your sales, your productivity, your average deal size, your win rates, all these kind of metrics. And now, a period of time after implementing Salesforce, like 6 to 12 months, what do those numbers look like? And across the board, these were the results of the findings. And so pretty powerful to be able to say this, that these aren't skewed numbers from inside the Salesforce's team or something. This is literally a reputable third party showing that sales increased 30% from actually implementing Salesforce. Productivity, primarily because of chatter, and we can talk about that a little bit, increases a full third, et cetera. The reps, being left out of today's buying process has been a pretty big challenge for a lot of consumers out there, companies that are trying to manage relationships. So you could think of customers as your members or partners. It's really not being left out of these conversations and being directly plugged in different ways through your capabilities, and talking more about the social enterprise. Another thing that you run into is wasting time looking for information is a pretty common problem with people that are in sort of a sales type customer related role. They're spending all this administrative time just finding things for their customers. So that's addressed, and we'll show you that in a little bit. Connecting reps with everything they need to win quickly is really the kind of the summary, or the goal of what we're going to see today. And so you have all these different sales needs at your fingertips, whether it's finding new customers, gathering social intelligence, connecting together internally with your team and then with the prospects. So a big part of that is, you may have one contact on the customer side but not know who they report to or who the other influences are. You can find out all that information using data.com, which is a product also that part of Salesforce's. Selling from anywhere, collaborating with partners, and ultimately you're bringing back this connect and sell theory. So these are just showing you different examples of how you can find new customers fast. So there's different ways within the product to listen for social leads. I don't know if there's a social aspect to your business at all, but if there are a lot of conversations that are happening out there on the internet outside of your normal channels, you can actually monitor those, and through that you can find opportunities, probably less relevant for your industry. The other side of it is data.com. So this is basically all of Dun & Bradstreet's account data, where they keep track of every company in the U.S. and I believe Canada and Europe that's operating, and their addresses and their affiliations with other partners and distributors and things like that. All that data is already tracked by Dun & Bradstreet. It's now part of data.com, and so you can really, with like a click of a few buttons, filter down to a particular sector that you're focused on, find out who the organizations are within that government sector, what have you, who the decision makers are, and literally get down to their emails and phone numbers and identify the key people that you need to be in touch with. And you can, so to speak, like purchase those lists if you want to mass market to them or individually reach out to them. A lot of companies are finding they like to take more of a warm approach. They may buy the list, but they don't want to cold call people. They want to find out through social media, how am I related to this CIO of this company or this police chief of this department? It looks like, that police chief also knows this person that I know, therefore I'll use that channel to get in front of them, that kind of thing. So there's a lot more slides about this. I'm not really going to go too far into this. Do you have questions in particular? Because I think the goal eventually is to walk you through Salesforce and show you, real hands-on sort of use cases of how to use it for your business, and we've set up a custom demo for you.
I think that's plenty of info. That's great. I'd love to see more.
Okay, so I'll hold off on the PowerPoint by death approach. I think what would maybe be a good next step is to let Kevin take a few minutes to just set the stage with who is ForceBrain. And so Kevin, if you want to take back and just show him a couple of quick points on that, and then we can get into the actual demo, which is where the fun begins. Can you see Kevin's screen now?
Yeah,
you still see mine?
Guys, I had you on mute for a second. I was talking and no one was answering. I was like, oh, must be me. Okay, so just a little bit about ForceBrain. We're a select consulting partner. Been one since 2008. We work very closely with Salesforce, and actually we were introduced to you from your account executive, Musa Dow. We're also a certified B Corporation. So just like Salesforce likes to give back to the community and to the nonprofit community, we also are set up to do that. Every year since our inception, we've donated over 10% of our annual revenues to our nonprofit clients through in-kind grants. So we want to also give back to the community, and so we help out that way. A little bit about who we are. We're focused on life sciences, high tech, and nonprofits. And we've got over 35 certified experts that have gone through the certification programs and have gone through the exams and successfully gotten their certificates. We also have a 4-point success guarantee, which I'll brush on. And some of our employees are actually former Salesforce.com folks. We're located pretty close to Salesforce, headquartered in San Mateo. They have an office that's about a half-mile away, but they also have their headquarters in San Francisco, which is a short train ride up to the city from San Mateo. We also have consultants all over North America and Europe, South America, and Southeast Asia. Any questions thus far? Okay, great. Some of our, as I mentioned, we have some real focus on healthcare and life sciences, high tech and media, and these are some of our customers, and higher education and nonprofit. So we work with University of San Francisco, a lot of nonprofits, big high tech companies like Dell, Ingress, healthcare and life sciences, a number of different large healthcare organizations, as well as some other verticals, such as Amex and a few others. We pride ourselves on really transparent project management, so we want to make sure all of our projects are delivered on time and within budget to get highly satisfied customers that are referenceable and that could, call on us when they need us for all their Salesforce needs. We have a lot of certified experts, as I mentioned, and we always focus on senior architects because they have a very strategic approach to management, to think about, the business processes, how you want to use Salesforce and how it can be mapped to your workflows and your business and how you want to conduct business. So we are very into, business process reengineering, make sure you can take your processes and work with Salesforce to implement those processes the way you want to do business. I mentioned a 4-point price guarantee, 4-point guarantee, which is on our website under Success-Guaranteed. It's deployment, development, data. So that's really in the development and deployment of our solutions. We, back up all of our data. We have very strict project management guidelines, and we also guarantee our price. So if you find a company that quotes you a different price, we can meet or beat that price.
And there's some special arrangements for not-for-profits, right?
Yes, that is correct. So we'll definitely work with you guys to make sure you're, handled properly.
I think
so
more specifically there is that we offer grants just as Salesforce does, and so we'd be prepared to offer a grant to offset our standard pricing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's called an in-kind grant, and we can work with you on that. So every one of our projects have a dedicated project manager to it.
So let me just go back because I don't know if Brian's aware of this. We have our current situation with Salesforce is that we have a free account that allows for 10 users. That because of the not-for-profit status. And I understand that there are, if we want to expand beyond that, there are other special arrangements that they make for not-for-profits.
That is correct. They do offer deep discounts for nonprofits.
Okay.
Do you guys know how many subscriptions you're looking at?
No, I don't think we do at this stage.
No, it's one of the reasons why we're looking at what this might do for a variety of the different divisions here.
Great. So I mentioned about project management. We pride ourselves on really good, transparent project management. So we publish all of our timelines, progress reports through Google Docs. So we share them with our clients. Want to make sure we're meeting our milestones and we're on budget. And we're making sure we're getting the job done in a timely fashion based on your timeline. We also go through a 163-point quality assurance checklist, and this is pulled from over 200 projects where we look at a number of different areas, including security, adoption, and these are all areas that a lot of our customers just overlook. They get Salesforce and then they go, what do we do with it? I guess we need some training. But what about security? We'll deal with that later. So we go through a very exhaustive checklist to help you guys focus on the right areas so that there's no issue with security or user adoption. So it really helps the process. Here are more of our clients, including Amex, Ingress, USF, a few others. And we have a number of different case studies.
Just in the interest of time, can we, one of our guys is about to leave, can we move to the Salesforce demo?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Just to wrap it up, we have a number of different engagement options, whereas we have like team plans, where you basically purchase monthly blocks of hours. You can purchase single days or weeks. Packages are most popular. We have implementation optimization packages. Sounds like you guys would be more implementation for extended Salesforce users. And then we could also do custom estimates if you wanted to do some complex application development or integration. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jason, unless you had any particular questions about that presentation.
No, we're good to go here.
Okay, great. So the floor is yours, Jason. Thank you.
Okay. So the key takeaway from what Kevin was just talking about is, Salesforce.com is the product, and ForceBrain.com, our company, is the consulting company. It's a great product. It's got a lot of flexibility and power, as I'm going to show you. But in order to tailor it to your business and set it up to have your data in it and your kind of reports and train your staff, that's where we come in. And so we can give you some options on how to implement Salesforce and do training and all that. But this is essentially Salesforce. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Is that easier to see?
If you could zoom in one. There you go.
Okay, so first overview, we've logged in, and we are in the top right here. We are in the Sales Cloud. There's a bunch of other applications. In our org, we've got about 30 applications that go down this right side list, anything from accounting and finance to project management to marketing, managing compensation plans, and all kinds of things. But we're going to focus on the sales application because that's usually the place where most people start. But just so you know, there's other applications you can install here and add on and extend and all that kind of stuff. The sales application and most applications kind of follow the same sort of layout where you've got tabs at the top and you start with the home. And then you've got this navigation bar down the left. And so if you ever want to create anything, it's, just go to this Create New. Recent items are all located here, so things you've been working on in the system, you can quickly find recent things quickly. And then there's other things you can add to this nav bar as well if you'd like to, like your logo or links to training or what have you. Then what you see in the center here are a number of things. There's always going to be a button here that you can click on to read, what's new in the latest release of Salesforce, which is always something to keep on top of. And so if you ever click on that, you can see all the latest, new updates that are free and kind of how to take advantage of them. Then you can see this dashboard snapshot. So this just shows you the first 3 reports of a dashboard, and a dashboard can have, a bunch up to like 20 different reports all in one snapshot, and then you can click into these and see the underlying data behind it. And so now this is the actual report, and then I could even go further and I could drill into the particular accounts on the report. So complete capability to drill into everything, and we'll get into a little bit of that more. But the idea here is to give you a summary of whatever information is important to you. So this is just something that we set up as an example, sort of, maybe there's some revenue goals that you have per quarter and where you're at towards that goal. Maybe there's you want to look at all the opportunities by stage, how many are in the proposal stage and that kind of thing. And maybe you want to look at your projects and by status, what they're at, like a pie chart. Or maybe it's something entirely different. But this can all be set up. Then you'll see calendar here. So this will sync with your Microsoft Outlook calendar or other calendar technology you may have. But the idea here is to tie any events or tasks or calendar items into your records in Salesforce with your customers and your members and all of that. And so you just install a simple, and we can show you how to do it, a simple plug-in that'll sync the calendars, and then you'll see all of your calendar events in here, but then it's going to tie them to customers. Then finally, the last thing on the home page is tasks. So any tasks that have been assigned to you, and you can sort those by overdue or next 7 days, or just I just do all open. And then items to approve. So if you're a manager and you need to approve anything in the system, whether it's capital requests or opportunities that need to go over a certain discount threshold, or any sort of approval processes, they would show up here as well. Any questions about sort of the home page?
When you log in, you'll get a pop-up which will have all your tasks and due times, so you can set ticklers certain days, and it'll pop up as soon as you launch
Reminders
Salesforce.
And stuff, right?
Nice reminders.
Okay, so that's just sort of the overview of when you log in and get situated. The only other thing to point out here is this concept called Chatter. And Chatter is a collaboration tool that's throughout the entire platform where I can put things, I can post in here files or links. Maybe I've been working on an updated consulting proposal and I want to add that, and I want to say, you know, hi team, can you give me some feedback on this before I send it to the client? And I can specifically address this to somebody in the company like Kevin, or I can just share it with the entire company, however I want to do it. And then this will show up, and then other people can comment on this. You know, page 4 has a typo, or whatever. And you know, every time this conversation is being happening, you can have notifications to notify you of that and keep you in the loop. And so you'll start to see this concept of what they call Chatter throughout the entire platform. That's a pretty powerful tool for collaborating. So now I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about these different tabs and kind of what they mean. Essentially, you've got accounts and contacts, which are generally organizations and then the contacts that work at that organization or are affiliated with it. And so if I go into accounts, for instance, we can set up different types of filters however you like. But if I'm going to look at all customers, you'll see that they get all listed here in what's called a list view. So there's basically 2 views when you go into any of these tabs. There's the list view, and then if I click into, say, ABC Police Department headquarters here, then we're looking at what's called the detail view. In either view, you can just double-click on fields and make changes right there real quickly. So even when I'm on the list view here, if I wanted to, I can just click in and make quick changes. But they're really serving 2 different purposes. This is more everything maybe by state, or just get a quick look at the list. And then the detail view is actually look at the detail of that account. Now,
for those accounts, can you talk a little about how you can connect that to external data sources?
Absolutely. So Salesforce, is more than an application. It's a platform. And so what you've got is a development platform that this sits on top of. And as part of that development platform, there is what's called an API, which I believe is like an application programmable interface. So it allows you to talk to Salesforce and request information and give new information to Salesforce, as well as go the other way to another application that has an API. So that would be the most common way that our customers integrate Salesforce data with other systems. If you want to have them sort of in sync. There's other approaches where you can import data in, which is very easy to do. If you have like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, you can just import the records in.
And have you ever used the ICMA Association Management Software Platform?
I'm sorry?
Are you familiar with the ICMA Association Management Software System?
It does not ring a bell. I mean, I could ask.
I wondered if you might have already done an implementation, doing an integration, because I'd rather do more than an import if we can do that. But let's move on. I know that there's an API. I just haven't looked at how difficult it is to implement.
If you'd like, can you repeat it, and I'll ask around the organization?
IMIS is the name of the software.
IMIS software. Would this be it? Looks like membership, advanced.
Yeah, membership. You can go to IMIS.com. Yeah, that's them.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll look into that and see if we've done integrations with it. But if they've got an API, then certainly it should be possible. So here we are looking at the account. Now, the way the records are laid out, or the detail pages, is you've got summary information here at the top. You can organize this however you want. You can add and remove these fields however you want, completely configurable. And then you can have all these related lists down below. So I think the example that I've been using is a division of ABC Police Department, which is the Roseville. And so I'm going to click into that one. You'll see we've got some data here, sample data. And so in this case, we've changed the type to be, customer police department, customer fire department, and all this you can set up however you want. And then down below, you've got contacts. This would be like the chief of police or operations manager, that are at this particular department. Then we've got opportunities and projects, and I wanted to talk about that a bit. But all of these they're called related lists, can be really anything. They could be invoices or outstanding assessment reports or whatever you want them to be, because it's all very configurable. But we're looking at opportunities now, and what we're trying to...
Can I stop you for a second, just real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
The accounts and the contacts, those two lists are, let's say you enter a contact, and that contact is with a certain account. All that stuff's going to sync up, correct?
Right, so yes, exact, good question. So we're talking about accounts and contacts, and really everything in Salesforce in a way, in the Sales Cloud, you can kind of think of it like a filing cabinet where they're all accounts, and then inside the accounts are all these subfolders, and contacts are one of those. That's one kind of simple way of looking at it. And so if I go down and I look at Josh Davis here, he's a contact at this particular account. Now, Josh may also have an affiliation with another account. So maybe he's the chief of police here, but maybe he's on the board of some other organization or what have you. And in those cases, what we can do is set up affiliations with other organizations. So you would see that down here below.
I mean,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the areas where I think we really look for a solution that would allow multiple business lines to operate under a consistent CRM type system, so we know where and who the other parts of the organization have been in contact with.
Okay. Yeah, and so the solution to that is basically like this. They're called contact roles. We can rename that affiliations or whatever makes sense, but you can set up sort of the type of relationship that any contact has with different organizations. So we can say, Josh is a decision maker or sits on the board or what have you, even though he's the chief of police at this particular. So yeah, that's all very possible.
Can the contact have more than one role? Because, for example, in a membership organization, a contact is a member, and that's a business relationship. But he or she may also be somebody who issues an RFP that Leonard's group may want to compete for, and so in that sense, they become a different kind of business partner.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
And from the membership aspect, how we do this sometimes is we track people in the different stages of their careers, so we can track them as members, because our membership dues are structured to the stage of your career as you work for a local government. So we want to take individuals and associate them with the community that they work at and at the level that they are, and then we can track them and say, okay, this is someone we need to watch as they progress in their career, so we can track them for full membership or different memberships. So I think from what you guys said, that is a possibility. You can generate a list underneath a contact, which could be a community, and you can associate individuals with that community, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Great questions. Now we're looking at opportunities, and so opportunities in Salesforce could be considered like deals, or really these are engagements that may happen, but we're not sure yet. And so typically you identify an amount, when you think this will close, sort of the stage that the opportunity is at, and these are just sort of standard out of box, but you can configure these to your organization. But maybe this is in the needs analysis stage right now, and it's valued at $220,000, and our goal is to get to the contract sign stage and then move it into a project. So we've got some revenue coming in, and so if we did that and we just won this opportunity, we move it to closed won and saved it, it moves to a 100% probability. At that point, if it's 50%, then that'd be a different stage. So you can associate the stages with a percent of probability. That just allows you to sort of do some forecasting and tracking of what's in the pipeline, what's potentially coming in over the next month or quarter, and then plan accordingly. Usually the next step after this phase is then to have projects kick off. And Salesforce, like I was saying earlier, you've got different applications that you can use. Milestones PM is a project management application, to then basically just take where opportunities and move to the next step, which is managing projects. And so, again, all this is configurable, so we can change the statuses to be whatever makes sense. Add fields, remove fields, but at a glance, what it's showing you is, how many open tasks are there, what's late, what's being blocked, what's open, where's the budget sitting right now, and expenses, and then giving you sort of a Gantt view of, what are the milestones in front of us and what are the dates of, kickoff and deadline looking forward. And then, everything down below is everything that's feeding that. And so, basically all we're saying here is a $25,000 budget. It's 100 hours estimated. And we've broken out these milestones that need to get done and assign them to different individuals that are working on this project. The key is that this is associated with this account. So anybody in the system can get a status of, what's going on with this particular client and where are they at in the process.
Stop you for a second and go back a tab.
Yes.
So quickly, under opportunities, there are, again, in our different business lines, for example, our consulting or public safety business may go after 50 opportunities a year.
Maybe a little more, maybe 60.
60. Some of our grant contract funded, we may write 8 proposals a year. So there's a difference in scale and scope, and so we may have, we do have different terminology that we use around probability of success. Is it possible, I assume that if we set up multiple probability fields to suit the various business lines we may have?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that is actually very possible. It's pretty common, actually, where organizations want their different departments and different subsidiaries to all be on the same platform because we're all kind of building on relationships we have with the same common accounts and contacts, but we may be offering them different services. And so we want to be on the same platform for that reason, but we want to have the fields and the probabilities and everything custom to what our specific team does. And so, yeah, what you see when we set it up that way is when I go to new opportunity, it won't just take me to one opportunity like this. It'll ask me a question first and say, well, what type of opportunity? And then at that point, we can set up 5 different types. And one type will have, stages that when you go to this, it moves to 50%. Another type, it won't do that. It would go to 20% or however you want it.
And CPM would have their own team,
Sponsorships.
Yeah.
That's good.
So are all of the fields and things that you track customizable based on the opportunity type in that situation?
Yes, correct. So they can share some common fields, like opportunity name maybe, but they could each have some different fields as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can set up user profiles that would restrict the view, well, basically the create, read, update, and delete privileges of a particular user.
Great point, Kevin. So in addition, we can say, well, we don't want this field to ever be seen by users that have the profile marketing or whatever it is. So we can actually, down to the field level, control who sees what as well.
So I have a lot of consultants out in the field, all over the country. We could set this up where they could see some parts of this, what their tasks are, and what the Gantt line looks like for the project management. But other parts we could prevent them from seeing.
Exactly.
And could they share the same underlining data like the contacts and see that they could draw from the different communities or subsidiary organizations? So
right. So there's several layers there. What you're talking about are 2 different areas of security. One is at the field level. We don't want certain consultants or groups that share this profile name to see this field or these fields in this whole section, for instance. This should only be accessible to management profile, that kind of thing. And you can create your own custom profile, give them whatever names you want, and just say turn on and off what you want people to see that have that profile. The other side of it is the actual data in the system, like certain accounts. And so some companies choose to have all accounts, the whole thing's open to everybody. Everybody can see all the accounts. They just can't see certain fields of information. Other companies actually want to shut down, or organizations want to shut down some of the accounts and contacts and such as well and say, well, we don't want it to be all open. We want our South Division only to see some accounts. We want our North Division to see all accounts and our West to only see West or something like that. So we can also control sort of what records you see, if that makes sense.
You can set up sales teams, say a core sales team for a particular territory or region, and then that team can only see each other's accounts, so there's no risk of poaching of salespeople, depending on your level of how you want to get.
Or say projects in general. Maybe we don't want people that are responsible for gathering leads to even see projects. So it's not so much down to the field, it's all projects. And so I guess the point we're making is, yes, it's because Salesforce has been around for 10 years, it's incredibly customizable and configurable, and pretty much any scenario you can think of, we can make it do.
Yeah, I'm curious to see a little bit more about the project side of it, because I am pretty, the opportunity management piece is pretty obvious, but we have some needs not only within the the lead management and consulting area, but within a lot of our different divisions that do contract work, as far as knowing, okay, when do we get the contract, what are the deliverables that are specific to the contract, which are perhaps a subset of the milestones on the project. So I'd like to see a little more about that.
Okay, great. I tried to capture a simple demo of that, not really knowing sort of the lingo that you use and such, but what you'd see here is that, ABC, Police Department, Roseville, we've got a consulting engagement. That's just what I called it. Maybe there's a more appropriate name for it, but that's the opportunity, right? So if I click back to that, we would learn about, oh yeah, this was a $220,000 opportunity. It closed on October 18th, and this was the salesperson was Jason North. But now it's a project, and maybe there's a different team that actually fulfills the project, and so in this case we would assign this maybe to somebody else. And now what we're seeing is, basic description could be, added here. Maybe it's summarizing sort of what the project is. But really we want to get down to the details. This is just going to show you status at a glance, but when we want to build this out, we need to build out what is the budget, and then these are all just calculations that are done automatically. So it's just going to tell us, how many incompleted tasks are there, how many incompleted milestones, and then this data is summarized up top here. But it all is driven down here from your milestones, your logs, and then any attachments. So it's actually quite simple, and it's meant to be that way as a framework because we can build on top of this and take it in different directions that you may want to. But in this case, we just created a new milestone, and I could create maybe the fourth milestone and say, final acceptance maybe is a milestone. And we can enter in any information we want here, and then hit save. And then you'll see that we've now got this fourth milestone. If I go back to the project and we scroll down to the milestones, you'll see now this fourth one's been added. And I can click into final acceptance if I want, and I can start to not only define that milestone a bit more if I want to, like is there a parent milestone, a predecessor, is it completed, are there kickoff and deadlines, but I could also then start to associate at the bottom down here tasks with it. So there may be 10 tasks that are standard to complete this milestone. And so what we see a lot of companies do is they'll sort of create like the standard template of a project that consists of these 3 milestones and these 30 tasks, and then every time we get a new opportunity like that, we'll just clone. You'll see that at the top up here. You can clone projects, and then you've already got sort of the template in place, and then you can go in and sort of fine-tune some of the tasks and milestones if you want.
Okay, and I'm assuming all of the fields here are customizable also. So if we wanted, for example, to say that a milestone was also a deliverable or a task was a deliverable, and then we wanted to pull a report of all the deliverables and their status, that would be doable.
Wait, say that again?
Well, let's say we have our project plan, but there are certain things that are deliverables to the client that might be payment triggers, and they have deadlines. And so those are going to be milestones probably, but they're going to be ones that our contract admin staff are going to be more interested in than the other project management milestones. So how would we, I assume that there'd be a way that we could set up fields to identify which things are related to deliverables that are part of the contract requirements.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. So if I go into this planning milestone here, and we're creating tasks, tasks can actually be deliverables, or they could just be, more task-oriented, like book the planning meeting. So yeah, that's just a matter of, defining that however it makes sense to your business. So it's like we have this completed checkbox. We could have a checkbox that says deliverable if we want, and then we could filter on that and say, show me all deliverables.
And any one of those fields you can write triggers or workflow on. So if you go to save that, it could trigger an email to someone in your organization, or kick off another process behind the scenes. So it's very robust back end. There's a lot you can do with that.
Could you also do like a trigger a reminder email, like if a deadline on deliverables coming like up in a week, and it just be automatically instead of having to monitor?
Absolutely. So what it does is that you can write a workflow trigger on that, and then as soon as that date happens, it'll send you an email alert with a URL in your email. You click on that, it'll go right to that record in question. And you can have that email go to anybody or a group of people or an email alias.
Yeah, no, that's just great for managing our consultants.
Yeah. So how does time tracking and invoicing relate to the project management module?
So you'll see that under every task, if I go back into like planning here as a milestone, and say that I had a task like book the planning meetings was assigned to me, I can log time against this task, and the tasks can have a budget themselves of time, depending on like the estimated hours and expense. They can have hours and expenses associated with them, and then you'll see hours and expenses are totaled up here. And so because there's not a budget that's been set, it's saying it's -2. But what I did was I just went in and logged new time against it and logged 2 hours. Hopefully it doesn't take me 2 hours to book a meeting, but then you'll see that that's being rolled up to the project level. And if I scroll down here, we'll see sort of hours incurred or 2. So I just haven't set it up to have the budget set up properly, but it would detriment this against the total budget, and the same thing with expenses. Invoicing is a separate thing, so if you wanted to do invoicing, it kind of depends on, every customer is a little bit different, and so that's usually something custom that we need to do, whether it's adding invoices as another related list here, or integrating it with an accounting system.
Okay.
So once we understand, which direction the client wants to take, then we talk about, how do we do that. So we can integrate it and then have the invoices auto-generated and a copy created here if we wanted to, or just sent off to the accounting system. Or we can do more of a manual approach, which some companies do as step 1, where the invoices are, you can manually create them in here and then have a report for accounting to have visibility into it and see those invoices, and then they can enter them into their system. So it just depends how automated you want to be.
We got more down the road, but let's not spend too much time on it. At least I understand. It doesn't sound like there's a full-fledged just kind of invoicing and accounting function within out of the box, or is there?
Well, so there can be. It just depends on, how far you want to stretch things. Financial Force is, when we were talking about these applications up here, we're really talking right now about the sales application, and then we've moved into this project management piece. But the next piece after that is more full-on accounting, and there are companies that want to do everything as much as possible on the Salesforce platform because it's very fluid. The answer to that, if that was something to consider, would be Financial Force, and this is a full accounting package that you can see is built right on the Salesforce platform. But a lot of companies already have their own accounting thing, and that they do, and so
yeah,
maybe that's
we do. And I'm curious to know what else they had. We right now are using another system for a lot of our AR, but then that's transferred over to our Deltek CostPoint financial system.
Right. Okay. So the other thing that I haven't talked about a whole lot is, again, this sense of chatter that we talked about a little bit. So you'll see chatter, you can hide it, and you can show it. This is pretty much available throughout the entire application. So if we wanted to have a conversation with this project, and instead of it getting stuck in email, it's not really visible to all the parties, we can do it here in chatter, and we can talk about the project here and post that. And so I need an update on the progress. Please send me, maybe the project manager is posting that. Maybe somebody wants to post an updated file or a link. But chatter is a really commonly used feature at all levels of the application. So, I mean, we're just at the project level, but if I wanted to go to a milestone and have a conversation about the milestone or attach a file to this particular milestone, very easy to do. And again, it's keeping it all within the relevant context instead of getting it stuck in email. And then you can have comment threads and conversations, and then you just you hide it, but it's there. That thread is there in case it needs to be referenced anywhere throughout Salesforce.
What also is really cool about that, the new feature of Winter 12, is the ability to create groups, and you can open these groups up to non-Salesforce users. So you can create a group in Chatter, say for one of your customers or partners or even an independent contractor or something, and you can create a private group without them having to have a login to your Salesforce instance.
We thought that would be valuable for us when we're dealing with these client cities. There's all kinds of back and forth with the police department, the fire department, the IT department, and that we could get them into each one would have a private group.
Yeah, makes sense.
Can you show, Brian, the ability to attach and log emails and phone calls and also documents like proposals and contracts and so forth?
Sure. So let's see. If I were, we can do it on pretty much anywhere throughout the app. It's all context sensitive. So again, if I was looking at an opportunity, say this consulting engagement again with the Roseville Police Department, you've got these related lists, and there's some standard ones that are, pretty much global throughout the system. And so there's activities. These are things that need to get done that haven't been completed yet. And there's activity history. These are things we've completed, and it just gives us a history of what has been done. And then we've got notes and attachments. And so when we're talking about, a new task is something that needs to get done by a deadline. A new event is more something that goes on your calendar. So you can easily just go in here and create a new task, send proposal, something I need to remind myself, and I need to do it by Friday. It's as quick as that, and that's going to show up on my home page. So now when I go back to home, you'll see down here, send proposal. If it becomes late, it's going to be colored in red, and it'll be real obvious. So when you got a lot of things going on, it's really helpful to be able to do that quickly. Same thing with new events, and then that'll sync with your calendar if you're using Outlook or something. But if we also wanted to send an email out of Salesforce, you can do that. And this is one of the powerful examples of being able to do some branding. And I don't really know if I have a good example here, but these are all templates you can have. So email templates, if I just choose one, what it's going to do is it's going to merge in data from the system. And so this is a bad example, but I could say hi and then, first name, attached is your proposal, update, call me with, feedback or something like that, best, and then, user name kind of thing. And we can set this up so that it's a template. We can also set it up so that this is a text email version, but we can switch it to an HTML, and we could put your logo of your organization at the top, and we could put a footer on the bottom with, website, phone number, email. So it's got kind of like letterhead built in, and have a whole bunch of form emails that make sense, that are sort of standardized things that people do to, just make the job a little bit easier and quicker, and again, more consistent. Where that gets a little bit more interesting, I think, is on the project side, where we have to give progress reports to customers or things like that, where the data is already in the system. We just want to go down here and send an email update and pull the data out of the system into that email template. So again, I apologize. I don't have an example of that, but you can imagine any of these fields could be merged in to an email template. In fact, I could probably give you an example in our system, because that's where I want to take you next to show you the quote automation. So I'll do that. I always like to show customers, how do we use Salesforce ourselves as a company. We're extremely transparent in how we run our business, and so we don't mind showing. So here again, let me make it a little bit bigger. So if I went to, let's say, I'm just going to go to an opportunity, and I'll pull up, I don't know, I'm just going to pull up any opportunity that we're working on right now. If I go down and hit send an email and select a template, you'll see that we've got all of our email templates in different organizations here. So if I go into sales, you'll see a bunch of different email templates in here. So maybe I'm going to go into day packages, and I'm just going to choose Sales Cloud Day Packages template. And what this is going to do, you'll see, is it's just pulling up, here's the ForceBrain header and footer, and then it's got a nice written email with my signature, because it knows that I'm logged in, that it should put that at the bottom, with a link into a document. And then if I was doing this off of somebody, it would have said, hi Bob, or whoever it is. And I pretty much don't even have to do anything. I could put a little something personal in the first sentence if I wanted to, but I get off a call to the customer, it's so much quicker for me just to find that template and send it to them, and that's what they asked me to do. So that's sending the email templates. Another really great feature for us is, like your organization, I would assume, you're creating proposals and assessments and surveys and reports and things like this that can be very manual and very time-consuming. The example that I'm going to give is Space Saver. So this is our proposal process. So when we create a proposal, this is the opportunity. You'll see a lot of different fields in here that are specific to our company. Like we do discount expirations, and we have a requirement summary and project goals, and this is all the data that feeds our proposal. So we make sure we collect all this information, build this with our customers, and then we've got some of the numbers and things down here. But then what we're going to do is we're going to generate the proposal. And so in the past we had to do it manually a few years ago, but now we've automated this, and so now all I have to do is click on this Loop Plus button, and what it's going to do is ask us, who is the signer, which proposal template do we want to use, which attachments, if I wanted to attach a case study or any kind of attachments. In this case, I'm going to attach maybe our master service agreement and our statement of work and our budgetary summary. And then I could choose to DocuSign it, which it would send it to them for electronic signature, which I'm going to choose, or just download it. So I'm going to do DocuSign and hit Run. And what it's now doing is it's gathering together all the data that we've captured in the sales process, and it's merging it into this nice, elegant form, this proposal, so we can present it to our client for signature. It's going to give us the opportunity to take a look at it first, so I'll show you sort of how it looks really nice, and we'll proofread it, and then once so we click on this link to do that. Once we feel like everything looks right, then we would simply hit send to DocuSign, and it's going to send this document to the customer for electronic signature. They could still download it and do a normal wet signature and fax it in if they wanted to, but it just gives them that opportunity to electronically sign it. So this is the result of our quote automation process. A lot of this is all being merged in from Salesforce automatically. The amount of time this saves us is just unbelievable.
Yeah, as if you have really complex proposals you need to do, you can generate a lot of it and then go in and edit it and then send it off to your customer as well. So it's very flexible.
It's highly configurable too. So we may have some proposals that are large projects that would need this image, and some are small projects that need a different image of the actual process. And so you can swap in and out different images based on fields in Salesforce that are chosen, and complete sections. Like in some proposals, we don't do reports and dashboards. The client doesn't need that for that project. If we didn't enter anything into that field in Salesforce, this whole section would be omitted. from the proposal. So again, just automating all that. And then at the end, you're going to see that it's attached to. What's that?
You do contracts the same way.
Correct.
Yep.
So yeah, and at the end here, you'll see that it's attached the spreadsheet that I wanted to attach. So you can attach documents as well, and just kind of puts it all together. And I can take it to the electronic signature demonstration if you want to see that.
Okay with that?
No.
We're okay.
Yeah, we understand the concept.
Okay.
So do you also want to kind of show how you can publish materials for folks to view?
What's that?
Well, like
content,
in
you
the
mean?
library, the content. Yeah.
Yeah, so the libraries is
in a very document heavy, right? I mean, you store a lot of documents. Are you looking to store a lot of documents? Is that a fair assumption with a lot of proposals you do, that kind of work?
I think on certain teams, yes.
You can store all that in Salesforce, and then you can also publish it and have people view it, and then you can see when they actually looked at it. So you can send the document over to somebody for review, like a prospective customer or somebody who's your eternal sponsor. They can click it, open it, and then you get an email saying it's been viewed. So you know, or if it hasn't been viewed, you can call them and say, hey, take a look at what I sent you.
Right, like this is a presentation that we give often, which is kind of the first step companies make is, let's do a quick start. There's like a 30-day get Salesforce up and running, and this, walks you through sort of, what we're going to set up for you and train you on to get the kind of the first milestone completed. And this document is just a document that's in the libraries, and we've got a whole bunch of documents in here that we can, like Kevin was saying, we can take this and we can just show it to our clients by going into full screen on a GoToMeeting or something, or even on an iPad or something. We can show this to them, access it from anywhere. Then once we're done, they usually want a copy of this, so we can hit deliver content, and what it will do is it'll give them a link in an email. So it's just going to send them an email, and when they click on that link, they can download it or view that content on the internet. And then, like
those
Kevin
files, sharing of files, is there any size limit? Because that's something we struggle with sometimes.
the size limit, I believe, is up to 100 megs. I'd have to double check.
We'd be fine underneath that. We'd probably be fine under 50.
Can you also deliver videos?
We don't. I don't know. You guys are, but we don't.
I'm thinking about delivering this recording via this.
Yes,
yeah.
you can. Oh, that's a good point. No, the file size is actually up to like a gig or something, because you can do that. In fact, we use that. We use this content library to deliver large files, so we can do that after this call if you want to, Kevin, put the video and content and then give them this link. And then you'll just
I'll try to
be able to. So just in advance, you're not going to be able to view the video in here like you could a normal PDF or something, but this is what you'll get. You'll get a link, and then in the bottom left, you can download it. This little button down here.
Great.
So jumping back to the email functionality, is there a plugin for Outlook that will let you record the activity of having sent an email outside of Salesforce?
Yes. So you mean you want emails and tasks and calendar events all synced into Salesforce?
Yeah. If I email an ICMA member or a customer or someone, I'd like the option of saying this email needs to be recorded in Salesforce along with that person's record.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do that. With the Outlook plugin, there's a button that you would just hit. It's either send or send and store in Salesforce. It's just one more button. And so if you choose to click that button instead of the regular send button, then it will actually put a copy in Salesforce. The other way to do it is you can have Salesforce give you a email address that you can put in the blind carbon copy, and you just create a contact called Salesforce blind carbon copy, and it's just a custom email address that it gives you for your system. And then if I send this to Kevin Baker, as long as Kevin's in our Salesforce system, it's going to associate this email and copy it in with him.
Makes sense. That's cool.
So there's a couple different ways to do it.
Yeah, so if you're using different clients like Google Mail or something, it works that way. Well, Google Docs has a bidirectional sync as well now. So,
When we
but
talked
yeah,
last time, you said that there was a way that if we drove people to our website and they were interested in making an inquiry or essentially becoming a lead, there's a way that you could link that customers or that members visit to our website and create a lead for us.
yeah, it's called Web to Lead. So actually, it's really pretty easy where you can create some HTML code, and then you can give that to your web team, and they can. And then Jason's going to demo this. Here it is, right there.
Yeah.
That's
It's a form that
you put in your
an opportunity.
push right into Salesforce as a lead. This is our website.
You got to remember, I'm with an IT expert here, and for me, this is like magic. So,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so then we just go to leads, and we're going to go to new leads past month in our case, and hit go, and we'll see. I don't know if I sort it, I guess, by we don't have created date showing. So that's a good example. I'll demo that. So if I just edit this list view, I can just go down here and add created date.
What kind of features are there in Salesforce?
What's that?
Kind of deduping. So I've got someone who signed up for a lead, but I already had them in the database.
Yeah. So there's a lot of products that help do that. There is some merging capability in Salesforce as well. But there's some more powerful tools that people use, like Ring Lead is one of them, or that kind of thing. If you need to do a lot of deduping.
Okay.
So here it is. Test Joe came in.
And from as with any system, someone has to go in and make the decisions about the workflow and set up the fields and all of that. What have you seen as the most effective way that people manage or companies manage Salesforce? From that perspective, like what kind of staffing would it take?
To do which part?
Basically system administration work. And
okay.
The deduping and the setting up of workflows and defining when we have needs that we want to make new functionality for.
Well, so there is there's a bunch of different ways to go there. Large organizations end up training somebody in IT and getting them certified as a Salesforce administrator, and that could be a subset of their job, whether it's a third of their job, or it could be full time. Just kind of depends on the needs of the organization. We have a lot of our customers that rely on us for that level of sort of administration, at least early on, while they're getting familiar with it. And what it entails is it's just kind of like a cell phone plan where you just kind of buy into a number of hours. Like we need 10 hours a month. And if we don't use the hours in the first month, then they just roll over to the next month. And so you've got a certified, and in our case it's a team. So you not only have a certified administrator, but you have a certified advanced administrator, which is a second tier level of experience. And then you have a certified developer as well, because you may need to do some custom things. And then a consultant, they're more the business analyst that can gather your requirements and put together a solution that these two people will then build for you. And so it's that team that we give our clients access to, and it could start at 10 hours a month. And so the idea is you just sign up, you get the team, you can either set up a plan of how you want to use that time to dedupe things this month, and next month we want to set up some reports or whatever, or you can just make it sort of on demand. How you get that support, and it's either implementation or developer of all these different deliverables and triggers and workflows and approval processes like we talked about. So
okay,
it's kind of up to you how you want to do that.
And if we were to go that route of pre-purchasing 10 hours a month or more, what kind of rates would we be talking about?
So can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's light support, which is like 10 hours a month, and it depends on the commitment. So if you can commit to a 12-month plan, then it's $15.75 a month. If it's 6 months or 3 months, less of a commitment, then the rate goes up. Obviously,
and then would there be a discount on that as well as for the not-for-profit status?
Yeah, so these are already discounted, a full like 30%, I believe.
Okay.
Team plans are
That's
very
helpful.
cost-effective.
You would have to have some of this either in-house or with a company like you all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you generally go
recommend
through a couple of phases. I mean, phase one is just implementing and getting it up and running and your data in there and training people. And then once things are implemented, then usually our customers go on sort of a support plan to kind of help do this area called optimizing. And we just sort of slowly optimize it and tailor it to your business more and more. And then we talk about other more advanced things like extending it would be, pushing the platform out to a website, whether it's to take donations or have a community or a portal or something, or integrating it with other systems. But yeah, usually step one is this. It's called Nonprofit Cloud Quick Start. And what we do is just, start with the end in mind. And so we talk about, what do you need to track in your organization, sort of what metrics and performance. We want to start there and to make sure we design everything to provide, that level of oversight and performance tuning. We talk about which edition of Salesforce. They'll give you 10 free licenses, and I think all the licenses after that continue to be discounted heavily at like 60 or 80% off, so it's pretty unbelievable support they give nonprofits. But you can choose to use what they call the Nonprofit Starter Pack, which is fine-tuned for nonprofits that need to track donations and grants and those kind of things, or the Salesforce Enterprise Edition, which is what I've been showing you today. They're both fairly similar. But the Nonprofit Starter Pack is just a little bit different in the way that it treats. It doesn't really have opportunities. It calls those donations, for instance. And so I think we've been talking about the Enterprise Edition being probably more relevant for your organization. And so what we would do is seek to help you configure all this stuff and set up the reports and move your data into it and train you and everything. Then the question then becomes sort of, what level of implementation do you want to do? Whether it's a quick start, kind of get it up and running in 30 days, the basics. And actually, this is probably not relevant. It's probably more the Sales Cloud for nonprofits. So accounts, contacts, leads, and opportunities, getting your data imported, and reports. That would be the simplest form. The more complex would be you've got a lot of data that needs to be cleaned and migrated in. We want to set up products and price books and quote automation and all that in phase one. So it can range anywhere along this. And these prices I wouldn't really worry too much about. I mean, we can give you a grant to help offset that, but it's kind of, what level of functionality do you require in phase one, And so in order to assess that, we typically will sit down and get some requirements from your team and then help you understand, what is a good package to get started with and get up and running. So I think we're getting close to or actually over the hour mark. Any other questions or thoughts, or do we miss showing anything that was real critical, or?
No, I think this has been a good start. If you can think of an association or organization that may be similar to ours that you've worked with that already had an existing customer relationship management system, but that they were able to integrate with Salesforce that we might be able to talk to, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to think, or industry-wise.
Are you guys using CRM today?
Well, IMAS is an association management software that does manage all of our customer records, but its functionality for opportunity management is poor.
I see.
And so there are some things it does well for us. It's not something that will be a simple transition out of because of the number of business processes it handles for us. And so a potential next step would be to be able to pull data from there into Salesforce and then eventually possibly replace it with a Salesforce-based application.
Got it.
Okay. So yeah, we can look into providing a reference. Typically, the step before that is to hone in on a proposal and see if we've got a solution that works with your budget and your timeline and all that. And if everything's looking like it's a go, then we can offer a reference or two or three or whatever makes sense. But we just like to respect our clients' time as much as possible because they're real busy. And so I just request that maybe first we could get to the point of providing you some pricing and see if that works for you.
Yeah, I think that if you can provide something that's more of a case study, we don't necessarily have to talk to them right now, but if you can give us an example of a situation where you've worked with someone and helped them to integrate an existing Microsoft SQL Server-based set of contacts into Salesforce, that'd be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, we can look into that. I mean, one in particular I can tell you that was real complex was this organization. We did a global CRM rollout where they had 4 databases. They had Sugar CRM, they had a Microsoft database, and Oracle, and I think SAP was the other, because they're a big company with a bunch of different companies they had acquired over time, and they were really working hard to consolidate them and standardize them all. And so their user adoption was pretty low across these systems, and the way they were configured didn't really accommodate their business, and wasn't really a lot of visibility across the organization either, because they're in different systems. And so we came in and we consolidated everything onto the Salesforce platform. We first identified a steering committee and established a team of executives across the different regions and hosted a series of meetings with them to make sure that we had a good plan in place that had everybody's input from a high level. And then once we had, and it didn't take too much time from them, it was like a quarterly meeting, and once we had that input from them, then we put together the tactical plans, and we rolled it out in these different regions in a phased approach. So phase 1 was Americas, phase 2 Europe. So that that's one good example, I think, of a pretty complicated, we call it a multi-phase implementation.
Now, another question, if we were to start out without importing existing data and built some workflows and some logic into Salesforce, and then we decided we want to do an integration with an existing set of contacts that have already existing activities and data behind them, what kind of problems are we going to run into?
Well, if we're bringing the data in from an existing system, what I'd recommend we do is we keep the contact IDs from that original system intact and put it in a hidden field in Salesforce. So if we need to relate it back to that original system, we could always relate back to it. So any updates would be rolled in, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what are our options for moving forward. One of them, it seems, might be just do something on our own, enter in the contacts that are our potential opportunities, and don't worry about connecting it up with our other system at this point. The problem then is you've got 2 totally independent systems, and eventually we're going to have to merge. The other option would be a full-out, integration where data goes back and forth between the 2. And so between those 2 extremes, there's probably a lot of stuff in the middle. And I just wondered what your thoughts were on the way that you would think that we should, move forward. I'm real hesitant to just do it completely independent of the existing system, but at the same time, if we try to do a full integration, it's going to delay it significantly.
Right. I mean, generally, these are sort of the different steps in the process. And, while some companies want to integrate from day one, a lot of them choose that they want to walk before they run. And so, usually what we do is just an implementation. Yes, it would be a snapshot of data that would maybe be in another system, but we we keep the contact IDs in place, and put a plan in place in maybe phase 2 or 3 to integrate those two systems together. There could even be a sort of an integration plan in between the full integration, which is more like a nightly batch routine or something that's more simple that would just bring data from one system to the other. Some companies decide after implementing and using it for a few quarters that they want to try and do away with that other system. Others find that that's not possible, and so they have to integrate. It just kind of depends on the systems.
Yeah, we don't know what the answer is, but we know it wouldn't be something we could get rid of immediately. It would take a while to pre-build all the functionality.
Typically, yes.
Okay.
So what do you recommend as the next steps?
Well, I think we need to have the other folks who are interested in this kind of functionality look at this. We need to do some talking just internally about time frames and options and budget, because this is something that was not a part of the current work plan, but clearly is a need that we have. So I'm not sure. I guess one thing that would be helpful for us to know is, what would you need in order to get us a quote? I don't know fully what you've gotten from Ryan and from Leonard. I know I don't think we've put together an actual requirements document yet.
No, we looked at this just from our little niche. So from my perspective, we have it. We could use some help in customizing it and getting it operational for us internally and do some training. But now we're talking about much bigger packages. So we haven't gone beyond that with them at all.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on just what spectrum you want to go on. I mean, there's sort of like that multi-phase rollout kind of strategy that we've talked about, which is more, this is a mandate from the CEO, and we got to do this, and we've got budget. Or there's more, this is a need we've got, a pain in the organization, we want to try it out, in which case we typically do something that's like a quick start implement, start with one team, get them up and running, trained, and then go from there.
We would certainly volunteer for that.
Yeah, that may be the only approach we can actually pull off, but that's something for us to have a conversation about, I think.
So we could propose that if that's something that would make sense to start at a departmental level and then move into an enterprise level if sense for you.
Yeah, it's always good. Walk before you run is what I always recommend. I mean, there's a good reason why Salesforce has gotten where they are, and they're considered the #1 CRM platform in the world. But by no means, I'm not trying to sell our customers on just jumping all full board on it. I think it's best to try it out, and then you'll start to see for yourself the value. So grassroots can be a good approach.
So are you bringing to the table anything that is kind of prepackaged custom work that you do with Salesforce? In other words, do you have templates already set up for different kinds of businesses that would streamline that quick start? Or is that going in basically and doing work within Salesforce and defining what the fields are for us, specifically based on what we've given you? Or I'm trying to understand exactly what role you play there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We do, just to give you a little bit of insight into our methodology, because, again, we're real open and transparent with our customers, not with our competitors, so to speak. But what I'm taking you now into is what's called our Consulting Bible, and we have what's called a Blueprint Library. And what we've developed over doing hundreds of these projects is a framework. And so if we're talking about implementing, say, the Sales Cloud and doing like a premium implement, what you're seeing is our collection of spreadsheets and templates, having done this many times before. Like if I go to leads, for instance, and I know this is hard to read, but this is every lead on the lead object, every field that comes out of box, and sort of what is the type of field, is it a required field, and all this information. And we consult with you on what do you want to do with sort of the out of box. Do you want to change sort of the lead source to be something else, the industry list to be something else, that kind of thing. And then it starts to get interesting, and we talk about what sort of custom fields do you want us to set up and related list. And so We don't really have templates per se that are for different types of customers, because really every customer has their own unique needs. But we do have a process and a methodical way in which we go about tailoring it to your organization. And this is a document that would be shared with your team, and at the end of the project you would get this as a summary. It's about a 30-page document that would give you all the reference points of everything that was done throughout the project for administration and anything ongoing you may need. We also like to build out roadmaps for our clients at no cost, and so while we may talk about what we're doing in phase 1, we can help provide you sort of a roadmap to what typical other companies do that are like you in phase 2 or 3 over the long term, and this could be each quarter or could be a couple quarters, however fast you want to move. But a lot of companies find, well, now that we're here, we may want to do electronic signature, we may want to open up a portal or do some other things or integrate with accounting, or so we can at least help you see that roadmap and make decisions on how fast or slow you may want to go down that path.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or questions or next step suggestions? Or
I think that let us have some conversations, and then why don't we get back to you? And meanwhile, please get us a copy of the file so we can show it to other folks.
Okay.
Okay, so the recording of this session today?
Right.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll take care of that. When would be a good time to reach out to you guys?
Well, considering that the holidays and some people are being in and out, I don't know, Brian, I touch base first thing in the new year after we've, shared it with people and brainstormed about different ways.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful early in the new year, because we're going to have an AP meeting in mid-January to talk about priorities.
So mid-January would be a good time to reconvene?
Yeah, or we may even reach out to you with some more questions and requests for.
Okay, yeah, sure. We could send.
Our other folks start looking at this and they have specific questions on how you can, sort of Salesforce can meet their needs.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, but we would love to, have an opportunity to, do a quick start or, for, say, Leonard's group, to kind of break ground. I mean, I think I heard that would be something you guys may want to consider, right?
It's kind of hard to argue with the $15,000 licenses that Salesforce gives away to nonprofits for free. It's a huge incentive for a lot of organizations.
All right.
So.
Hey, well, if you can get us that video, that'd be great.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Okay, thank you.
Our pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.